we are in a mood of setting agenda for the second term in office of President Muhammadu Buhari. Second term will begin effectively on the 29th of May when he's inaugurated into office. So a lot of will be on his mind, especially the kind of the dimension of the insecurity that we have in the country. Talking about Boko Haram insurgency in the northeastern region of the country, the military are tackling the situation there, kidnapping, another issue on the minds of Nigerians, and what kind of situation it has been: banditry, courtism, cattle rustling. These are some of the issues that have taken the insecurity dimension in the country. So how is the government handling it? We already told you that you can get talking, get part of the conversation within the few days that we are going to be setting agenda for the Buhari government for the second term. We told you the way to do it. Hashtag what Buhari must do. Hashtag second term agenda, and the handles are there on Twitter at Channels TV and CTV Politics. We're looking at what you're talking about, curating it for you and bringing right on your screen. Of course, we are looking at what has happened in the past, the promises of the first term, and we're looking at the agenda of the second term, where the president said the next level is the title of the 4 years in office for the second term. Security, how would you rate the present government? Anti-corruption, how would you rate them? The economy, those are the major areas they said they were going to tackle. How have they performed? What are your thoughts about how they should go about what they are doing presently? Let's go talking, everyone. From our Abuja studio, my panel are seated already. I have Bishop Johnson, a former U.S. Army captain, and beside him is Aliyu Abdullahi, is a lawyer based in Abuja. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program today. Let's begin the conversation. It's interesting now that the IG of police has spoken about community policing. Mr. Johnson, you're a security expert. Is that a way to go?
Yeah, Shehu, let me say this. Our prosperity and economic development as a country is linked 100% to our security. If we can't get security right in this country, we cannot get any other thing right. And the president has said that his two topmost priorities are, fighting insecurity, fighting corruption, and growing the economy. But I want to tell you that, look, the president's agenda will be an illusion if we don't fight insecurity in this country. Now, coming back to your question, community policing, we have always been emphasizing on that, because there is no security that or security agents that succeeds in isolation. The best intelligence in security is human intelligence. And the essence of security policing is having some kind of interrelationship between the community that you're policing and the police themselves, because these people are your number one source of intelligence. So community policing, sure, that is the way to go. But if you know, we have been talking about this community policing for ages and for decades, and nothing seriously has been done about that. So people like us have been agitating for, state police, because to be quite honest with you, this country is too vast. This country is too diverse. This country is too big. Our police is too
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, sorry if I may butt in. If I may ask, you mentioned community policing. You did mention also state policing. For a lot of people, what is the difference between both?
Well, community policing can happen at any level. It can happen at the national level. It can equally happen at the state level. When you say community policing, what you're basically is talking about the involvement of the citizens in actual policing, having a police that reach out to the community, in which the community and the police work together to solve problems. That is what people mean by this community policing. It's like a bottom to top kind of approach to policing, okay? What we have today is a top to bottom approach of policing, but what we actually need is a bottom to top kind of policing, where police at the lowest level can make a decision working in conjunction with members of the public. So it can happen, if you have a federal police, it can happen. At the same time, even state policing, if you have state policing, community policing can equally happen at the state level. The reason why I brought up this state police issue is because even if you want to do community policing, right now, the federal police that we have don't have enough manpower. They don't have enough capacity to reach out to every nooks and cranny of this country. It's ill-equipped, it's underfunded, it's undermanned. So the federal government alone cannot shoulder the responsibility of effectively policing this country. So that is why, as much as we
because
want to
of our
do
time,
community policing,
quickly, I want to put you on the spot. Just a moment. If you're looking ahead of 2019 and ahead of the 4 years, I want to put you on the spot, and I would like you to rate this government on security. Very good, fair, or poor? How would you rate the Buhari government in the last 4 years in the areas of security? Quickly.
Now, Shehu, let me be quite honest with you. Look, we've not made much progress as far as security is concerned. Now, we achieved a little progress in the Northeast, but the little progress we achieved in the Northeast, we lost it in the Northwest, because you see that Northwest is completely out of control. That place is chaos. People can barely travel from Abuja to Kaduna, from Kaduna to Abuja. So if you want me to rate this administration, I would tell you that what is prevalent is probably worse than what we had before. So we haven't made much of a progress in security. So I don't know what the previous governments were rated, but if I have to assign a number, I probably, between 1 and 10, I probably will give this government maybe 4 or 3 in terms of security.
That's fair or poor? Based on the boxes that I have here, you are saying that this government is poor in terms of security. But look, that's your rating. That's your rating. Aliyu Abdullahi does not look like he's agreeing with you. But we'll take a break. But when we come back, we'll look at some of the dimension. Aliyu Abdullahi will weigh in, and we'll look at the next 4 years of the Buhari government. How far, what Buhari must do. That's next on The Conversation, everyone. Mr. Abdullahi, look at what Bishop Johnson, how he rated the Buhari government. From your own point of view, in terms of security, because if you look at some of the issues on the table, for example, and the dimensions that these things have taken, Boko Haram before President Buhari came into office was predominant, but now we have a more highlighted issues of kidnapping, banditry, castle rustling, and all that. Not like these things don't happen before, but they've taken a larger dimension. Now, what is your take on it? Your party is getting another 4-year mandate. Can Nigeria actually look forward to that next level?
Well, I didn't get your last comment, show, but I guess I get about 95% of what you said. I will have to, first and foremost, let me disagree with Captain America here. I think maybe perhaps Captain America was not in this country about 2012, 2013, 2014, when this country, you see, Boko Haram was not even restricted to Northeast, actually. They were in the Northwest. This time Northwest that we have security challenges of banditry, kidnapping. Boko Haram was there, was in Abuja. UN building was bombed right here in Abuja. So to say that, to belittle the kind of effort this government and our armed forces did in curtailing the insurgency, the Boko Haram insurgency, I think we are not being fair to the government, nor to our service people. So, yes, we have new forms of security challenges, but what the government did in terms of curtailing the insurgency was significant, and we will continue to pay due respect to that. Now, back to the issue of the banditry, kidnapping, and other things that are happening mostly in the Northwest. We have had the Inspector General of Police, we have had several spokesmen of government, what they intend to do, what the government is doing. Just yesterday, the police paraded about 96 people that were kidnappers, among them robbers on the road between Abuja to Kaduna, with recovered arms, different kinds of arms and ammunition. That is a government that is doing something. So many efforts have been done. Nigerian Air Force in the operation other that they are doing with the police and other sister agencies have actually established an Air Force base in Birnin Gwari in Kaduna State. They are helping, they are cooperating with other troops in the army and the police. So You see, the government is doing something. And in the next level, the community policing is really very important. I heard him saying, you know, it may not work in the larger, maybe federal system. No, it will work. And this is why. These people that will be taken from various communities around the country, they are going to form part of the Nigerian police force. There will be constables. There are people from the neighborhood watch. You know, these are people, the traditional leaders and the people in the community knew them, trust them, and they knew they will give first-hand intelligence to their force and other, the cooperation of other sister agencies. It's going to work. And don't forget that, yes, we're undermanned when we talk about the Nigerian police. We're under-equipped. That's very true. But the government is doing something. That is why they're considering to go community policing. And those people, they will be part of the, when it takes off, those people are going to be part of the Nigerian police force, the constables and all the rest. So what are we talking? We have increased the manpower by going to community policing. And I sincerely think it will really work, because where are the criminals coming from? They are coming from our society.
The one major issue on the table, the president did mention the issues of true federalism, that is necessary considering the kind of challenge that we're facing as a country. So a lot of people will think that perhaps there must have been, or there should be, an urgent step to be taken by the government of the day in terms of rephrasing and reframing our constitution to meet the kind of policing or to tackle the kind of insecurity that we're facing currently. That is a criticism coming from the opposition, isn't it?
Well, see, this is it. I had the cry of federalism, true federalism, restructuring, whatever name we want to give it. But this is what, even the president has actually hinted so much when he met with the governors forum some days back. Yes, but one thing at a time. And don't forget, to make law is the duty, is the responsibility of the National Assembly. And we all have representatives in both chambers of our National Assembly. They can push an agenda on this issue. But be it as it may, why can't we first try this community policing the way the federal government wants to do it as of now under this structure, and see whether it will address the issue or not. If it fails to address the insecurity challenges and issues, then perhaps the other critics and naysayers can say, we have told you that. We have to go back to restructuring the constitution, the country, before we can actually have community or go back to state policy. But let us try it. We shouldn't be so in a hurry to condemn an approach that we have not even tried.
All right. We're going to close the program now because we're setting an agenda for the second time in office of President Buhari. I'm going to allow yourself and Bishop Johnson to wrap up just in 30 seconds each. Let me begin with you, Bishop Johnson. In 30 seconds, what do you think is urgent for this government to do to tackle the issue of insecurity urgently?
Shehu, let me start by saying that, look, I am not here to diminish the effort of our armed forces. I think they are doing their best in the most challenging circumstances that they find themselves. I look at the spending of militaries around us. We spend the least in terms of our GDP when compared to our neighboring countries. Now, going back to setting an agenda for President Muhammadu Buhari, look, President Muhammadu Buhari he cannot overnight solve the security problem in Nigeria. It's not an overnight something. True. But he can lay the foundation under which other administrations can build upon. We have to look at our borders. The border security is a very serious problem in this country. The northern segment of our borders are completely out of control. And you have just one directorate in the immigration services that are made up of 32,000 personnel to police the entire length of Nigerian
Bishop Johnson, we're out of time. Let me allow Mr. Ali Abdullah. In 30 seconds, Mr. Abdullah, your response and what do you think the president must do in the second time? In 30 seconds, please.
Well, thank you, Sharon. I think what the president must do or should do in the second term agenda, it's first, I think under security, we must continue to we have to have a reform. Don't forget that we have two, for example, under the police, we have two police bills that are in the Senate right now. The police reform bill, the police trust fund bill, this will empower the police with more men, more equipment. And then, yes, I agree with him about the issue of improving the budget for security.
All right.
And again, we must, I think, get competent hands, you know. And don't forget, security is not an isolated incident. If we cure insecurity and we didn't tackle the economic challenges in this country, the poverty level and so on, we will be curing the symptoms without
obviously out of
the
time.
matter.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aliyu Abdullah. Thank you so much for your thoughts here. Bishop Johnson, always a pleasure having you share your thoughts on some of these important issues. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in. Well, that's our issue tonight. Don't forget, everyone, some of the issues on the mind of Nigerians and how this government will tackle it going into the second term. Hashtag what Buhari must do. Hashtag second term agenda. That's our show for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Wakimale. It's Friday. Go enjoy the rest of the evening.